As a refresher, Bob Hawk, in part one, in case you didn't attend part one, he went over really how to use Agility Explorer and Agility Web Explorer and Agility Analytics and what they look like and the types of things that you can do to automate your Macola. So there's Agility Explorer on the desktop and then Agility on the web. And then he went into some analytics. So what we're going to do today in part two is take a little bit more of a technical dive into how you can create some of these things on your own using Design Studio. So we're going to learn how to create a grid for the client server Agility desktop product. We call that Agility Explorer. And then the Agility Web Explorer product, which runs in the browser. And then also how to create a KPI or an analytic also in the browser. So it's a lot to cover, but some good stuff. So let's start with what exactly is Design Studio. Design Studio is a tool that our developers built. So we really have two types of developers at WiSys. We have technical developers that program in C# and VB.NET and things like that, and they have developed two tools. One is what we're going to work with today, Agility Design Studio, and that is for building the web and the desktop applications. And then there's another tool that we'll cover in a different webinar called Form Studio or Agility 360, and those two products build products for the handheld applications and that we have. So primarily, we're just going to focus on the Design Studio tool today. And all of our software that the end users use is built on these. So that's the other type of developer. Really, most all of our employees are proficient in Design Studio and Form Studio. So how much does it cost? Well, it's part of our framework. So if you're an existing customer, you already have it. And if you don't have our software yet, you definitely need it. And if you talk to Bob, I'm sure he could be happy to hook you up. Hopefully you'll see something today that you really like and you can't live without. So can anyone use Design Studio? Anyone can use it. The only catch is you have to be an Agility administrator. So if you're not an Agility administrator, you need to talk to whoever is at your organization and see if they can get you the proper access to be able to do it. And then one other thing that you need to know is you need to know a little bit about the Macola database and where to go get the data from, and we'll touch on that a little later. What types of things can you build with Design Studio? Well, the desktop and the web product are a little bit different, but these are the types of applications and things that you can create using Agility Explorer. So really, the amount of things that you can create for your Macola data is limited only by your imagination. The most popular things are grids. It's just a way to view data. A process grid is used frequently to transact on the data from the grid. And then, of course, we've covered the dashboards, and then the other things, you can hook Crystal reports up directly off of a menu. A lot of customers load all their Crystal reports onto an Agility menu so that their users can just go run them easily. And then we have, stored procedures and object transactions. A lot of these things are used in combination to accomplish what you're looking for. And then in the Web Explorer, you'll see there's not as many options, but the most popular ones, grids and dialogues to view data and process grids and dashboards, and the object transactions are also available, but some of the other client server specific functionality is not available. And just because Crystal reports and nice labels are scratched out, that doesn't mean you can't run a Crystal report from a Web Explorer grid, or it just means you can't hook one up directly like you can on the desktop. So what are we going to build today? We're going to build a grid for the Agility Explorer on the desktop, and we're going to use orders information data from the order header and order line tables in Macola. And we're specifically going to build a grid that we're able to look at the number of orders that we have by ship via codes in preparation for, how we're going to send those orders out to the floor for fulfillment. And then we're also going to build that exact same grid in Web Explorer. And then we're going to use the same subset of data again and build an analytic dashboard. So before we dive right into designing something, let me give you a little context of what you're going to see inside of Agility Designer. So I'm going to launch our client server Agility desktop product called Agility Explorer. Maybe. Oh, I already had it open. Sorry about that. So once we're in here, if I bring up this is an OE order status grid. So some of the things from a design perspective that you're going to see is this section over here is called a filter. And these filters are ways to shrink the subset of data that you're working with. So if you have a lot of data, so if you have a lot of orders and you're going after all the orders that you have in your system, that could be tens of thousands of records. It's best to filter down that data because most likely it's going to take forever to either to load into the grid or you might get a timeout error. So you don't want that. So you're going to see where you can create filters like this, where you check the data you want to look at, and then hit the OK button. And then that populates the grid. And up here, you'll see we have a column highlighted in red and an alert that's indicating that we missed a promise date here. All right, if the order's incomplete in Macola, it would show up yellow. So you have the ability to create alerts. You'll notice that there's data on the top, and when I click on a row up here, it populates the data down here. So this is called header and detail grids. So you're going to see how you can create a main grid and a detail grid and how you would attach that grid. And then you also see buttons here. You can have buttons at the top. You have buttons on a ribbon bar up here. So there's various places you can put buttons, and those buttons can be linked to other Agility components, or those buttons can do actual transactions in Macola, such as create a purchase order or close a production order. So these buttons can do transactional things, or they can just drill into other data to get more detail from what you're looking for. So as we go through Design Studio today, we don't have time. I don't have time to show you how to add all of the components I just talked about. So that's what I wanted to give you some context when you see the various areas in Design Studio in which you would create these components. So that said, let's work on creating this Agility Explorer grid.